AI Realized, the podcast about everything that is new, now, and next for enterprise executives deploying AI. Hosted by myself, Christina Elwood, and my collaborator, David Yakubovich.
Our guests will share what's driving AI adoption, use cases, and business models for the data and AI economy.
Why the future is bright.
Welcome to AI Realized podcast for enterprise executives leading AI deployments. From addressing security, data, and operations challenges to managing the organizational and management changes, AI deployment presents the opportunity to redesign our organizations from the inside out. I'm Christina Elwood, your host for today's episode. We're talking today with Maher Hanafi, the VP of Engineering for BetterWorks. Welcome, Maher.
Hi, Christina. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast.
Maher, trust is the core for all business. It's so fundamental. In this era of AI, how are you building trust with your team and with your customers?
That's a good first question. Yeah, I think trust is key to the AI adoption in this very fast-paced AI evolution, right? Like we live in an era where every day you wake up, you go to the platforms you follow to see what new updates are in AI, and there is like a bunch of news and a lot of things happening. So there is a lot of hype, there is a lot of noise as well, and it's very important to make sure that you have two stakeholders you need to manage when it comes to trust, and they really get there with your vision. The first one is your internal stakeholders. I would say your team, your executive leadership team, your board of investors, like all the people around your business, they need to be on board with the journey to get into building generative AI features and the adoption of AI. And I think to build trust, you need to really get to a level where you can earn that trust by first understanding these concepts and how they work, and second, by understanding the risks that are involved in adopting AI and how this will either disrupt positively, disrupt in either way, but positively or negatively your business and your company. So to be able to have a good, deep understanding of this, come up with a good plan, adopt really, or come up with your own frameworks that you can really explain to your internal stakeholders to get them to build more trust into the future of adopting AI internally, but also in the product. And then the other stakeholders are your customers. In my case, again, I work for BetterWorks. We build a SaaS, enterprise performance management software. So our customers are a little bit more tricky to navigate. We work in the HR technology space, which it has a lot of constraints and a lot of compliance that is involved. So I would say the pushbacks on AI is higher than maybe other spaces or direct to consumer products, where you need to really navigate all these things, and you navigate them close to tenant by tenant or customer by customer. Because if you are enterprise companies and global companies, you have a lot of these rules and policies and a lot of these AI acts out there that you need to navigate. So again, to build the trust with your customers, you need to understand their environment, you need to understand their constraints and compliances, and you need to understand their own expectation of AI and navigate all of that. And I think in the early days of Gen AI, there was a lot of questions that didn't even make sense coming from customers, right? Like, where will you use my data to train and how this works and all of that. And as a business that is adopting AI and building AI for our customers, we needed to get a little bit ahead of the curve. And one of the good ways to build trust is and I said this many times, we have been working on our AI privacy policies, on the way we use AI, in our transparency and explanation of building AI and using AI, more than building the AI itself, because we needed to come up as very clear transparent and responsible and aware of all the kind of compliance and limitations of the space to get to our customers the best way they can adopt this. And then the other way to really get the trust from our customers was to go and build early versions that are small in scope but big on impact, and get them to experiment with that, give them early access to these experiences, and then let them opt in on their own pace. Because even if you come up with the best use case for them, they might have their own internal policies and securities happening that adoption of AI is not for now and it's maybe for later. But you need to get them all the reasons for them to opt in and adopt, go into this and hop on the journey with you on AI. So I do agree with you. Trust is a big word in the Gen AI and AI, especially in B2B and SaaS, that sometimes we forget about. And we just build AI because we're excited about its impact. And we forget that adoption is a completely different game. And trust is definitely one of these pillars.
Do you still have some customers that are reluctant to use the AI capabilities, or are they pretty much over the initial hump and are willing to use it, but maybe have some constraints around how many of the features they use?
The adoption is never 100%. And it's because, again, we target enterprise customers, global customers, a lot of moving pieces. And even if they are ready to adopt AI, they might have internal processes to look into AI differently. By the way, a lot of our customers, when we have them for many years, they came to us and say, because of this new era of AI, we have to revisit and do an assessment of the whole solution in general, not just the AI additions. And this is just to say that they are revisiting their processes, they are building new guidelines around AI adoption for vendors and solutions and SaaS products. So it's really a kind of a push and a pull, and we're trying to navigate this. So that's why building trust ahead of even these early conversations was very important, to try to put together a lot of FAQs and use cases and answer questions ahead of time was key for us to navigate these conversations and not be in a place where, every once in a while we have a big customers coming and say, oh, AI is not for me, not for now. I have no idea what it is. So we give them that pre-read material for them to get a little bit more comfortable. And as they figure out their internal policies about AI, adoption or opting in will become easier over time. So definitely we moved on from the early days where everyone was saying no because they don't know how this works. And now it's becoming a little bit more clear and understood. And we're just navigating policies and internal strategies of adopting AI.
Well, you also mentioned that the technology is changing very rapidly. So that must make it also difficult, because as the technology is moving quickly and you're having to juggle adopting the new technology while avoiding the pitfalls, but also maintaining the trust. So that seems like that would be a specific challenge as well.
Yeah, exactly. If you are an enterprise company and watching all this space AI is moving with, you definitely should, and you should be concerned about adopting AI from a vendor and B2B SaaS product, because you don't know exactly, again, unless you have the right reasons and the right kind of material and explanations and transparency about what is being done, you will be concerned about what is being changing. And all these kind of frameworks we built for years when it comes to SaaS and cloud are changing with AI. All these boundaries and guidelines we had before when it comes to role-based access controls, data pipelines, I would say data governance, where the data flows are and how things go. All these are changing with AI. So definitely there's a lot of skepticism when it comes to, oh, it's gonna change and break all these boundaries we put for years and we became more familiar with. And even when you look at these assessments coming from these customers, the questions are always about data governance, infrastructure, and cloud solution architecture. But now you see a lot of AI, like what data is flowing. We talked about PIIs before, but now it's beyond just PIIs. It's also what interactions my end user customers will have with AI and what role the AI will play in the product. Will it make decisions on behalf of people? Will it impact performance, outcomes, and scoring and all of that? And again, it's these companies have the right to obviously check for these. And from our end, we are proactively working towards making sure that there is a good guarantee for them. There is a good trust relationship we're building for them to really see through our transparency policy and AI privacy policy to really understand where what role AI is having and what impact it's having on the product. So definitely, I think over time, continuing on building more trust, but also everyone getting a little bit more familiar with AI and moving away from this fast pace of technology innovation, but just focus on the core implementations of AI and how it's going to change our products. And with all of this being restricted with our compliance and domain we're in, HR tech is different from chatbots and image generation, all of that. So we really need to focus and still build tools and AI enhanced features within the boundaries of our system and our domain.
Well, at this point, agents are a really hot topic as we enter into 2025. And that's yet another level of complexity in the use case for your customers and the integrations in your product. How do you see agents unfolding? And is it core to the work that you'll be doing, or do you see your customers maybe developing their own agents that need to complement what you are offering, or will you expect you will be offering agents and that will be bounded within the product? What does that look like?
That's a very interesting topic because I think both scenarios here will be in play. The first one is internally as a SaaS solution, we will be exploring more agents in a way that will empower our customers and give them enhanced features, but still keep the control in the human hands. We don't want these agents, again, to be taking decisions on behalf of the human beings. We want them to make easy process that is a little bit more complicated than what the regular LLM is capable of through, again, summarization, text generation, all of that. So agents will have access to more aspects of the products, but at the end of the day, we want to ensure that the human is still in the driver's seat and taking full control of what's happening. And I think that's the challenge. And I think that's why agents will take time to get to that level of maturity. And I think you and we talked before about the AI maturity framework that we have been looking at and using and leveraging as much as we can, because you cannot just go ahead and use the most sophisticated technology following the fast pace of innovation, bringing agentic AI into an HR technology space and just give it all the access controls it needs. That's not going to happen. So we really need to be more strategic in our approach, and that's what I think will make agentic AI adoption a little bit slower in environments like this one where you have way more controls. The other side of the coin that you described, which is our customers bringing their own agents. And again, as a SaaS product, we have API access. We give our customers access to public APIs. So that could be in some way tools for the agents to use. So they can build their own internal agent that will leverage our public API in a way that will create enhanced experiences on their end. And we have a lot of customers leveraging our API, the classic way of SaaS product, cloud solutions. You hit the API, you get the data, you process the data, and you do whatever you want with it. And I think with agentic, it's going to make all that flow easier, more kind of it will help our customers explore more enhanced experiences on their end outside of our platform, but through our API. And I think that leads me to think about also where I see the future leading the way to building software on the cloud that is, or interfaces like an API that is more designed for agents. I think our current understanding of cloud and software and distributed systems are mainly about exposing API for other software to consume, for an engineer to go and code and integration through that interface, which is the API. I think in the future, we'll be building interfaces that are for agents. Like this is the agent tool that is available. If you can bring your own agent, go and talk to this interface, you can get whatever you want. So I think that's where the more mature, sophisticated solution will look like in the future when it comes to B2B and API exposure for SaaS products. But I think both ends, going back to your initial question, I think both internally, we're exploring agents, but more um, focused on bringing the best responsible use case for agents. And externally, I think exploring agents, bring your own agent solution to leverage our API that might be in the future designed for agents. I think that would be a big game as well. And I think that's going to change the way SaaS products would work in the future.
Are your customers asking you to provide features in your performance management software that allow them to manage their quote agent employees? Are you finding that to be a case like, oh, I've created this employee we call Pierre, and Pierre is doing our resume filtering and or whatever their performance assessments or something. So Pierre is actually an agent, but is acting in a role and as an employee, and they want to manage the performance of Pierre. Are you being asked to provide features for that purpose?
To be honest, I'm not aware of any of these kind of conversations go in this direction yet. I think, and again, going back to what I was what I was talking about, I think there's a future where that is definitely a use case, where you can have these agents being part of your pool of resources available, human resources, but also AI resources. I think agents will become that. And today, we don't have any such use cases. Again, the adoption of this space is slower than other spaces. There's a lot that is involved. We're talking about human resources technology that has a way more guardrails and safeguards to ensure data governance and no leaks and all of that is all in the right place. But I see a future where you're designing APIs for agents. You're designing experiences for maybe agent employees that have, like, you have an agent business analyst, someone who needs to get access to data in some way with some specific controls and access controls. So you need to design your product for that use case in the future. We don't have that yet, as far as I know, but I see a future where this becomes more frequent in this space, honestly.
I definitely can see that too. And I think it's interesting that people are anthropomorphizing these agents even at this very early stage. But when you think about the guidance that you want to provide to executives that are listening to our podcast, what comes top of mind for you as we enter into 2025 and they're thinking about deploying AI in their enterprise or providing guidance to their organization about how and when and where to use this technology? What guidance do you have for your peer executives?
Yeah, I think the number one thing that comes to mind is to be educated about to a certain degree of level of details, I would say. Depending on what you do and what's your job and what's your domain of expertise, you need to go as deep as you can to a certain degree to understand what AI is all about, or Gen AI in this case, what it's capable of, what are the risks. So you can be part of a bigger cross-disciplinary conversation, a council, let's say, that is capable of making decisions internally to leading the vision. You definitely will have AI champions and visionaries and stuff like that, but everyone should be involved from a high level, executive level, to impact the vision, the roadmap, the implementation. So I think for executive leaders, they need to be a little bit more aware of what is this technology, what it's capable of, what are the risks with it, versus just delegating this work to others and involve third-party contractors that will come and learn into this. And I think, again, I think it's reasonable. I'm not asking too much here. I think there is a reasonable learning path for any executive at this stage. Again, the same way we learned about the cloud, moving from on-premise, the same way we learned about web coming from desktop-based applications. So I think it's the evolution, and it's this era where we need to get a little bit more acquainted with this topic. The other thing is, again, that cross-disciplinary involvement. It cannot be just a task or an owned by engineering or by product and engineering. I think everyone at different degrees should be part of this council, should have a framework internally that will build more trust with the adoption and with the success of this adoption, and that can really iterate using, again, I talked about this before, a flywheel kind of framework that will help you iterate quickly, learn, and then build more confidence, more maturity, and enhance your adoption. uh, my biggest advice is not go directly following the most recent trends in AI and start to build an agentic flow day one, versus going and exploring the basic features that are out there that now, 2 years later, honestly became really affordable, easy, cost efficient, but still very impactful to maybe your end users. So I think my advice is that is like really have a plan in mind, have people in your executive leadership team be more educated and learn more about the capabilities, have obviously other experts in your team go deeper and explore, but focus on having impact than having breadth of execution, and go and bring the latest greatest technologies from AI that we see today coming up. Focus on impact. What is the number one thing that will have a needle mover experience impact to your customers, and start there. And then again, as you build more maturity and confidence in your framework and your implementation, go pursue these more sophisticated solutions.
Those are great suggestions for furthering the journey of the executives as they anticipate adopting AI in their organizations. Would you? Is there anything you would like our listeners to take away from our conversation today that you haven't had a chance to mention yet?
Yeah, I think it, again, highlighting the importance of building responsible AI. I think that's going to be a topic that over time will get more attention as we see more, I would say, AI acts being built and revisited and redesigned. I think everyone's understanding of AI is evolving over time. And I think all these things will change and evolve. So being able to really make sure we are building responsible AI that is for the best of humanity, that is keeping the human at the center of the loop, that is really giving more power to the human being than just replacing them, is key as well. And I think that's the final thoughts I would like to share with the audience.
Well, thank you so much, Maher Hanafi, Vice President of Engineering at BetterWorks. We really appreciate you talking with us today on AI Realized.
Thank you so much, Christina. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.